Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Round 7 of the 78th edition of Tata Steel Chess. This is the A group, the master section, as white, Pavel Eljanov, and as black, current world champion Magnus Carlsen. Let's get to it. It's going to be a close Catalan. Eljanov is white and Carlsen is black. We'll go through the opening a little bit here. Typical Catalan stuff. Castles. I like the Catalan. It's a nice setup for white. Very easy to play. Knight, Queen C2. Bishop. Wants to keep his dark squared bishop. Computer's got Bishop F4, which is the move that Eljanov played. Bishop C1 and C takes D. C6. Kind of reminds you a little bit. Well, a lot of these queen pawn openings are just so close and so complicated. Knight C3. And then pawn to G4, which is really interesting. F5 is computer's choice. It kind of reminds me of a Dutch a little bit. G5 is the third choice. They're all close in score, so let's pretty much book, I'm sure. Bishop E3. Now, according to the computer, that's the last book move. Knight D6, the knight retreats back. And then B3 to reinforce the C4 pawn. Knight F4, hitting the bishop again. Eljanov decides to go G4. Interesting move there. Knight takes, pawn takes, B5. Very interesting pawn structure for white here. He's got the open F file, but it's so close that I don't think the pawns being moved in front of the king are really a problem for now. E4, and Carlsen plays B4, hitting the knight. What to do, what to do? Eljanov decides to play E takes D5. Right out of the blue. Pawn takes the bishop. Now he's hitting the knight. So right now he has two pawns for the bishop. Knight B8 hitting the pawn. Queen E4. That pawn isn't really going anywhere on C3. He can push him all he wants to. He's doomed. F5 hitting the queen. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Queen to D5 check. It's got a point advantage on the computer for black, but this is really interesting. Look at these pawns. You got a pawn storm coming here. We'll see if Eljanov can pull this off. Queen takes, pawn takes. Knight A6. Now Magnus is under a lot of pressure right now. He's in tie for the lead. And he's playing black, and his opponent just sacrificed a piece for two pawns. So he's got to make sure the evaluation on this is correct. The only problem is he can't push this pawn, and he can't push this pawn for right now. Oh, excuse me. Can't push this pawn for right now. Rook A to C1, get his pawn back. Knight C7, as we all know, knights are great blockaders. So the knight's holding the C pawn in check, and the bishop's holding the pawn on D5 in check. Knight D5. F4 for Magnus. That one I don't understand too much. Maybe bishop B4, trying to make him move some pawns, but then if you make him move the A and B pawns, you're just helping him with his pawn storm. So he goes F4. Knight goes to C4. Now finally white get these pawns moving. He sacrificed a piece. He can't. Time is very important in chess. Rook to D8 just to stop that. So he finally gets his pawn back. So we've got three pawns here for the piece. Can he hold on? Knight takes. He had to give one of them up. Now we go c7. Knight takes. Bishop takes the rook. Knight takes. e3. Very interesting. White's not that great, but he's not that bad either. Bishop b4 by Carlsen. Let's go back here. I don't understand the reason for that move either. Forcing the rook to move, I don't see that's... I like knight to b6 myself. Looking for a trade. At least get the knight active. But he went b4. Rook to c2. Bishop b7. Another interesting move from Eljanov. I like king f2 myself. Or he takes f. We went h4. Obviously, if pawn takes, maybe he can go after the lone pawn here. Bishop e4, hitting the rook again, and rook goes to h2. Trying to desperately get some counterplay here. It's an almost 2-point advantage now for Carlsen. I think he just miscued somewhere here. Earlier, he thought he could really storm those pawns, and Magnus just kept his cool and played the moves, and I got to give it to him. He found the solution. Knight. And this is where I think Eljanov stumbles. I think the pressure's getting to him. He sacrificed the piece. He goes knight to e5. And that is the end. Give you an idea. He probably should have played pawn takes. Then after bishop c3, knight d2. Bishop takes check. And rook blocks. It's still doomed though. I mean, that's the better scenario. Pawn takes. Pawn takes. Rook takes. The pawn. And knight to g4. And it's just, I mean, look at the scope of the rooks. They're all boxed in. They really don't have any scope. And look at all the black's pieces coming. They're coming. I mean, look at this. It's just incredible. Knight to d5. And that's where Eljanov said, you know what, that's enough. I resign. Great win by Carlsen. He's got to keep the pressure up because Caruana is winning as well. This is a big deal tournament. It's the first big super tournament of the year and one of the biggest tournaments all year, for that matter. So here you go, Magnus Carlsen winning round 7 in the 78th edition of Tata Steel Chess. Hope you enjoyed it. Look for other games from this tournament, one of my favorites. And as I always say, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.